Okay, so I'm doing a valve adjustment on the K24 today. Well, I'm just checking them actually. I don't know if they need to be adjusted or not. The place I bought the engine from said it had 70,000 on it, so you know, who knows how many miles is on it. But anyway, I want to show you a quick way to get it to top dead center. I know a lot of places online say you have to turn the crank pulley and do all this crap. You don't have to. This is an easy way to do it. You come right here on the power steering pulley, and once you turn that, you're gonna see it also turns the cams. So that's the way you turn the cams, and then you just line up the marks. When I have the marks lined up, I'll come back to it and show you. So this is how I turn it from the power steering pulley. As you can see, it's turning just fine. Just as long as you take the spark plugs out of it, it will turn over. Okay, so I'm back. So here we are, top dead center on number 1. Alright, so the way you tell is that arrow is pointing up. The 2 lines right here. It's a little bit off, so let's go a little. Steering hoses in the way, but there we go. Those 2 are lined up. The arrow on the intake side is pointing up, and the dot exhaust side, the dot on the exhaust side is also up. Now another way to verify is I stuck a extension in the spark plug hole for number 1, so it's right on top of the piston now. So if you move it, you'll see it goes right to the top, and then as you start turning in either direction, it starts going back down. So if I move it now, you'll see there's going down. If I go that way, if I go the opposite direction, it's going to come back up, and then it's going to start going down. There we go. So that tells you that when these marks are lined up right here, I'm at top dead center. So right there. And then I'm going to show you the easy way to do it. Is you come here and you look at the cams. Actually, you can't see it very well here, but yeah, you can't see it too well from here, but the cam is on the flat side of the lobe, not on the pointed side. So as long as it's on the flat side, then that means that the on both sides, intake and exhaust, that means that both valves are closed, and that's what you want. And another thing I should have told you is I had my power steering hose disconnected before I started turning this because it was in the way. But when I started turning it, the fluid started coming out, so I reconnected it. And you should also pull out all the spark plugs to make the engine easier to turn over. If you don't pull them out, then you probably won't get the engine turned over by using the power steering pump pulley. Okay, so the spec for the exhaust side is 0.008 to 0.010 inches. So I'm going right in the middle at 0.009. And the engine should be cold, by the way. This has been sitting overnight, so it's cold. So you put the feeler gauge under. It's kind of hard to hold the thing and do it, but okay, so it's under, and it has a slight amount of drag on it, so this one's good, so I'm not even messing with this one. So go to the second one on the intake side. Yeah, this one feels good also. And then I'm going to go to the exhaust side and do the same thing. I can't remember what the spec is for that one, but I'll put it in the description. But I'm going to go and look at it now and then come back and do that one. So this is what I was trying to point out earlier. Another way you can tell that the engine is at top dead center is you can look on the cam. So look on the cams here, you can see right here, this is the pointed end of the cams. So when this is down and touching this, that's when the valve is open. Once these are off of the rocker, then the valve is closed because the cam is now on the flat side of the lobe and not on the pointy side. The pointy side here is what opens the valves. Once the valve is off of the pointy side and sitting on anywhere on the flat side, that means it's closed. And if you look on both sides, you can tell, see, it's off both of the points. It's sitting on the flat ones for both, so you know both valves are closed. Now for example, let's say I come over here to number 4. You see number 4 is also off the peak, but it's getting ready to go onto the peak, so you wouldn't want to adjust these valves here. You'd want to turn the engine until this pointed part is back up or a little more away from the rocker, so it'd be sitting on the flat side of the cam, so at least then you'd know that the intake cam for number 4 is closed. So that's another way you could adjust it without, you know, referencing the cam gears. Like this one, for example, number 2, see these ones are pointing all the way up, so you know that these are off the open section of the cam. So you could do it that way too. If you want to do it quickly, that's the way I would do it. Or you can turn it and, you know, turn the cams 90 degrees. So for the next one, the arrow now has to move 90 degrees. So now the arrow is going to be somewhere over here. That's going to be top dead center for number 3 because the firing order is 1342. So 90 degrees from 1, arrow is going to be here. That's going to be number 3 is at top dead center. Another 90 degrees from here is now going to be down here. So number 4 is going to be at top dead center. Then another 90 degrees is going to put it over here. Then number 2 is going to be at top dead center. So that's how you do it. Alright, so here we go now. So I turned it 90 degrees. So now you can see the arrow is 90 degrees. And by the way, you turn this clockwise. The arrow is facing the front of the car. I used the power steering pump to turn it. Well, actually for this one I used the cam gear right here because the engine is really tight to turn over sometimes. So that's one way, you know, number 3 is at top dead center. The second way is the extension came all the way to the top, then just started going back down. So I backed it back like a millimeter or 2, then brought it back. It's all the way at the top. The third way is the cam lobes, the pointed end of the lobes are off of the rockers. So you know on both the back and the front, see they're both off, so you know these valves are closed. That's the third way. So 3 ways to check it. Okay, so we on to cylinder number 4, because remember the firing order is 1342, so you got to do it in that order. Cylinder number 4, now the arrow is pointing down. The socket is all the way to the top. It came up, started going down, so I backed it back a little bit and came back till it's all the way to the top. And you look on the cams, the pointed ends of the lobes are pointing away from the valves, so the valves are sitting on the flat side of the cams. That's number 4, which is the third one. Then I'll come back to number 2, and then that's it. I'm not going to show the video for number 2 because you get the picture by now. So let me show this. I know somebody's going to say why I didn't show it. So the camera will focus on this. So there it is, 0.009 inches, 0.229 millimeters. The specs for the intake is 0.008 to 0.010, so 8 to 10. So I'm going right in the middle at 9, and I'd like for 9 to be kind of tight. So the way you do it is you come in here like this, you put it under the tappet or whatever that's called, and you should feel a little resistance on it, which I feel. So this one's good as far as I'm concerned. The only one I had to adjust so far was this one here on the number 3. This one was a little bit loose, so I made it a little bit tighter. Now it's a little bit tighter than this one, but it's still fine. So I'll do the same thing for this one, see how this one feels. See, this one has a little resistance on it too, which is good. So I'm happy with that, so I'm not messing with that one. For the exhaust ones, I'm using 0.010. It's 0.010 to 0.011. The 11 is going to make it a little bit looser, obviously. So I put the 0.010 on it, and I feel a little resistance, not too much, but I'll be happy with this one.